Hi, you're right. Today is a double lesson, and the lesson is split into two halves. You're going to be writing your own infographic, okay? And you can do this on a sustainability issue of your choice. You can also do the same uh, organization that you created or you worked on for your advertisement. You don't have to, but you can, okay? If you'd like to continue working with that same idea. The first half of the lesson is going to be planning and research, and the second half of the lesson is you going to be creatively actually producing your infographic. Now, in order to put this together, you're going to have to learn the information that you need to represent on your infographic. So what I've done here, I've given you some questions and I've put in some exemplar answers to show you how I would plan my own infographic. So the first thing you need to do is pick your sustainability issue that you're going to be working on. So an example here is the waste and damage caused by single-use plastics, okay? Then you need to think about what specific issues. So some of you have picked before like things like climate change, which is very, very broad and it's got many, many factors. So that might be your sustainability issue, but then you might want to be more specific in your actual infographic, okay? And think about what's the purpose of the infographic. What are you trying to get people to do? What are you trying to inform people and persuade people about? And they're the two main purposes of an infographic, aren't they? To persuade, to inform and to persuade. So I put to inform people of the consequences of using single-use plastics and persuade them to reduce their reliance on them. So who's the intended audience, okay? And you can pick any intended audience for this, all right? It might be very, very broad or it might be quite specific, but it's something you need to think about. Do you need to change your formality or your approach in order to appeal to that particular demographic of people? So I've selected, for example, that it's aimed at secondary school children, so I should not use overly complicated language and a simple, straightforward design. So that's something I've thought about and considered. Then I need to think about my use of images. So what images am I going to use to support the purpose? Now remember that a text and the images work together, okay? So it shouldn't be an unrelated, just a pretty background picture for decoration. It should help to persuade the person that what you're saying is true, credible, believable, and they should react to it. So I'm going for a huge pile of single-use plastics, perhaps in a beautiful landscape, to show how damaging they can be for the environment and how they do not really biodegrade. Okay. Now we did a lot of this when we worked with the advertising, so you should be pretty good at thinking about image selection. What color scheme will you use? Okay, and we've talked a lot about not just hurling colors onto a page. You've talked about color palettes and color charts before, and color wheels, and how they can be used to complement each other. Can the colors be symbolic as well? I would say less is more, okay? If you were to look at something like Oxfam, it has a very, very clear branding color, okay? It's normally white and green, sometimes a little bit of purple, all right? That's it. So I've gone for green and red as symbolic to symbolize the healthy environment, and red for the danger imposed by single-use plastics, okay? So some quite simple symbolism there, but they're the two colors that I'm going to go for, maybe a contrast in my infographic. Now comes the research. So I've selected at least 5 key facts, and I want at least 5, please, okay? Now you can do a few more if you wish. I've gone for 6 here, that you wish to share with your audience. So the facts I've got are the facts that plastics do not biodegrade, how much we use single plastics, how much single plastics are used across the world, so a local and a global perspective, alternatives to single-use plastics, so how people can change their habits, most common uses of single-use plastics, and how reducing the use on single-use plastics could help the environment. Now the problem is that all those pieces of information are kind of all haphazardly thrown together. If you were just to put them onto an infographics page without any consideration of the order, it would be very confusing. So this is a really important point here, guys, is you need to think about what order you're going to present your information in. Are you going to separate your page into problems and solutions? Are you going to have like a cycle? Are you going to maybe put it in the shape of a river or something like that if you're doing water? What creative way can you structure the information to make it more easily digestible and make it more persuasive? So you have to think about this. So this is what I've gone for. So I've numbered mine 1 to 6. So I'm going to start with how much single-use plastic Hong Kong uses every day. And I might use a comparison to make it clear, sort of like, 2 swimming pools full of plastic or whatever it is. All right, it'll probably be more than that, actually. Just to make that sort of shocking statement grab people's attention. Then I'm going to make it a global issue. How much plastic is being used across the world? And I happen to know that actually the amount of plastic factories that create single-use plastics is actually increasing. So I might be able to find a nice statistic or fact about that that I can put in here. Then the fact that plastics do not biodegrade, okay, or they break down incredibly slowly over millions of years, all right? So I could put something there, could even maybe put it as a rhetorical question, like, did you know? Something like that. Common use of single plastic. So now people are starting to think about how they use single-use plastics every day in their life. Once they know how serious it is, they're starting to think about themselves and how they contribute to the issue. And then sensible alternatives to the plastic. So I'm giving them choice, I'm giving them options and advice. This is where it's being persuasive now. And then finally, how that is going to help the environment. So what are we aiming for? How can that help? What, if everyone takes their responsibilities seriously, are we going to achieve together? Got any other ideas at the bottom? So I've said that I'm going to put a call to action. So something that they should do, maybe a slogan in there. I'm going to put a logo. Now, maybe I designed a logo for my advertising, so I want to put that in there. And contact details as well for my particular organization, okay? And that's my plan. Once I've done that, I now can be creative. I've got everything I need to do a really good job of my infographic. I just need to put it together. Now, you guys are really good with using different programs and apps, and maybe some of you have some software for like graphic design or graphic manipulation, where you can put this together. You're probably better at it than I am, to be fair, where you can put this together in a really beautiful way. Now, you've seen some infographics, you know what they should look like. We need to have really high standards, all right? And at the end of the lesson, you're going to submit your completed infographic and your plan, all right? So you must do the plan. The plan is not optional. It's not just something to think about and get on with the infographic and do a rush job. I want everyone to complete the plan in detail, just like I've done here. And I want everyone to submit their infographic together with it by the end of the lesson. If you do finish this by the end of the lesson, and it really is a 2-hour task, the other class took 2 hours to do this, all right? And some of them actually wanted to finish it for homework because they not quite got it to the standard that they wanted. So it is a lengthy task if you treat it seriously. But if you do manage to finish sort of 15 minutes early, I will put on a little grammar task that you can do just to push up your grammar skills, all right? Make sure you edit your work carefully. I noticed on the advertisement some people making some grammatical errors, missing full stops out, missing a couple of capital letters. We need to make sure that we maintain those high grammatical standards in all our work. All right. So quite a big task today, but hopefully it will be fun. Research something you can get on with and produce something really nice at the end of it. Okay. Now I will be online intermittently throughout the day because I do have oral exams with year 12. So if you do have a question, you can email me, but I might not be able to get back to you immediately because I might be undertaking an exam. Okay, so do your best. Your teachers will definitely make a note of anyone who's not on task or not behaving, and please hand this in by the end of the session. All right, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you next week.